Hello, hello, everyone. It is Kenyon here. It is Basketball Rewind. Like, comment, sub on your way in or on your way out, of course. I am joined by these two gentlemen with me. Coach Roach, Beyond the Locker Room. Welcome. How was your week before we get into the fact that we split the games?
Good week. You can't complain. Weather-wise, it wasn't too bad. A couple cold days, but overall, hey man, living life, man. That's the way you gotta do it, man. So yeah, this stuff that we're talking about is really nothing, folks. When it's all said and done, like really, it don't mean a hill of beans when it's all said and done.
Yes, and yeah, I'm doing okay this time of year. It's getting a little colder, a little darker earlier, but that's part of living in Canada, which happens. So you do the best you can.
Well, we to get into the good and the bad, the ugly, we should first recap the week, the standings. Well, maybe not the standings so much, but the Raptors went 1-1 this week. They had a lot of games or a lot of days off. They only played 2 days. However, they split. They won against Mavs. I can't remember. So people go back to the last episode if you need to check it. But someone said basically all of us more or less said that they would split. I can't remember who said they would split which one. I said that I would be. I know that I said they would probably, knowing the Raptors, they would split the reverse way. So I thought they were going to lose in Dallas, rebound, and kill it against the Celtics. That did not
I'm
happen.
the one. I thought they'll lose both, so I'm putting it out there. I said both of them. So
Okay, fair enough.
I did too. I thought they were going to lose both. They would lose against Boston. Playing in Boston's really tough, but I did not expect them to beat Dallas. But they did.
Different garden than the garden, but yes, I believe it's TD Garden if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Still a really good arena in terms of the fans, really, really supporting their team every single time. Tough arena to play in, tough arena to win in. So, do you want to get into the ugly verse or the
oh,
good?
let's do the good, man.
We'll stick with the good.
Good, man. Let's start with it, and let's not go down there just yet. But no. I mean,
Don't
there
need
was
to
some
go down to the wine cellar yet.
there's some good things that came out this week, right? Like I don't know. I guess I'll start. I'll just say this. Dallas. I mean, wherever you want to refer to it, the win was a really, really good win, and I would say it was the best win of the season. That's the best they looked all season. I always refer to this case here. I'm always looking to see what can be sustainable, and the way they played, and the way they actually executed their offense. Those were things I could say. You know what? That's something you could kind of lean. You could kind of lean on it in tough times. The way they threw the ball in the post, they kind of got good quality shots out of it, even from the ones in the perimeter. Out of those post touches, Siakam was some point a focal point. I don't think he needs to be a focal point every single game, but he has to be some part at some point in the game. He has to be a focal point, and I think that was really good. They went really. I mean, it was like that was like Nick Nurse on steroids. How they went to Siakam, because I can't even think of Siakam games with Nurse like that, where the shot profile was like I can't remember. He scored 31 points, and 30 of them were all in the paint. Like that. Like even Nurse would have a game like that with you'll get a couple mid rangers, odd three there, something like that, but not like that. That was really something to see, man. That was going back like 1985 with that shot profile. So at least from that standpoint, I thought they did a good job. I thought defensively they were really good in that game. Like overall, I don't think there's anyone you can say, oh, boy, they had a bad game. Like everyone played really well in the Dallas game. So that's my good, man. Can't take it from.
yeah. Kind of like what Beyond said. It was just good. This was Siakam, arguably his best game of the year. They constantly went to him in the post. And why did they constantly go to him in the post? Constantly had a mismatch on him. He had Tim Hardaway Jr. guarding him at one point. He would have, at times Grant Williams guarding him. And look, Siakam could just tear those guys up. They're just not quick enough to guard him. They don't have the mobility to guard him. It was just really good to see the Raptors offense see him in those mismatches. OG Anunoby, he had 26 that game. He was guarding Luka the whole game. You get the Raptors medallion thing the end of the game, and I think he rightfully deserved it. 26 points, and you get to have to guard Luca all game. And even Scotty Barnes, Scotty struggled a bit offensively. He was only 4 of 15 in the game, but, and this is the key thing, he did other things to be involved to help his team win. So he also had 14 rebounds and 7 assists and 4 steals and 2 blocks. And he was a +9 on the court as well, which was the highest, tied for the highest amongst the starters with OG. So it was just a really, really good performance from our big three, who I would designate our big three. And like Beyond said, it was the best win of the year. We shot 50% from the field. We only shot 30% from three, but we had so many points in the paint where you don't have to worry about shooting 40% from three when you have so many points in the paint. I think we had 72 points in the paint. It was something like that, which is that's really, really good if you can get that from Siakam, from Scotty. OG had a bunch of drives too in the game. So I also want to give one more point to the bench. That was the best bench performance I think we've seen of the season to that point. Gary Trent had 16 points. He had 4 threes. He had some big timely threes too. Malachi Flynn, after being given the Tom Brady article, from what I heard, he's played fairly well. And Chris Boucher in that game just brought a ton of energy on the court. He also shot 100% from the field, 4-4, 101 from three. So it was overall just a good performance all around from this team.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to go with a good, but in a slightly different way. So, Scotty Barnes did not, for the Dallas game, did not have his best showing. However, I think we saw that even when his shot is not going, when he's not shooting 5 of 10, that he can be a productive member of, the Raptors society, so to speak. So that's something that I think deserves, some shine. I think he's figuring it out. But yeah, I think the other thing too is if I go to, there was a tweet that I saw, and the tweet was basically about Pascal. And effectively, Pascal Siakam had everything but 5 points in the paint in that game for his entire for the season so far. So say it was like 40 points or something like that, or 40 or whatever it is. Say it's 40 points. 35 of them or 30 of them for this game were in that game, which is crazy. When people say that this offense has shifted his offensive spots and how he gets his offense, it's not a lie. Like, there's a reason why the numbers are the numbers. I know it's 9 games in. I do understand that the coach is learning. I can totally get that. But there's a reason why we've had the complaints that we've had. And from that standpoint, it seems like Pascal had a little bit of a conversation with Darko about where he gets his spots. And I feel like, and it kind of demonstrates that, yes, he's shooting less above the break threes since then. And that's kind of what you want. You want him to be able to get his offense in spots that matter. The other thing, too, is I think we saw the value in Otto and his continued place on the court and his continued production and ability to be impactful throughout. I know it's one guy. I know he is supposed to be treated with glass, as if he is glass, and bubble wrap him, but he's important, and we saw that.
Yep. Well, I'll let you pass on. I guess we're done with the good.
A lot of the bad happened in the Celtics game, I guess. So that's for starters. This is the day after the Celtics game, and the Celtics were on a back-to-back, and Kendrick Perkins style gave us a whooping. They they took out the belt and something about strapping shoes on. So hey, if that triggers memories for some of you, I'm sorry, but it felt like that yesterday watching that game. in the first quarter, because that game almost deserves a proper breakdown.
It
From a
really is a fascinating game. It's like a
yeah,
lot.
hey, we can add it to the case study list.
Yeah.
In the first quarter, the starters played pretty well. Not perfect, but in terms of from an offensive standpoint, they were matching up well. They were establishing the post early. The ball movement was there, and then the bench came in, and the second quarter came, and the wheels just kind of fell off. It was we did see the return of Precious. We also learned that Precious again should probably not be on there with a whole bunch of other bench unit guys because the decision making, especially when your lead guy is Scotty Barnes with a bunch of bench units. Sorry, Scotty Barnes, you're not quite there yet. And again, I know people get sensitive about this. It doesn't mean that I'm saying Scotty Barnes is a bad player. So I will start off with that. We will keep it moving from there. We'll probably come back and circle around to the bad before we get to the ugly. Anyone want to go from there?
Oh, you beyond.
Oh, me? Okay.
You take the slice of the pie.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just gonna put this bad under what the heck was the coach doing. I'll just put it as that as the bad. Like, and this kind of play jumps off of Kenyon's point about the substitution of the second unit. I don't know what was going on there, but I'm sitting there watching like, why do we have this unit out here, especially if Jason Tatum is still out there, and we are just letting Jason Tatum cook? There are certain players, they're almost like a fuse, right? Now, I'm an old Pistons fan. You old Pistons fans would know what I'm talking about in this case here. There's a gentleman in this case named Vinnie Johnson, nicknamed the Microwave. And the last thing you want to do when you play Detroit is to let Vinnie Johnson get rolling. And Tatum is a bit like that. There's players like that throughout their career. You'll find them. There's certain players in every era are like that. Tatum seems to be one of these type of guys. That if you can keep him down, he might get points, but it might not be in a conventional type of way. But he's one of those guys, once he starts rolling, good luck turning off the faucet. And I sat there watching after about 3-4 possessions, and I tweeted out at the time, or X'd out, or whatever the hell it's called these days. I said to myself, I tweeted, it's like, they better have either OG or Pascal in this game, or Jason Tatum. Essentially, this is paraphrasing. Jason Tatum's going to go off, and essentially they won't be able to turn off the water. And in this case, we had a flood pretty much by the time the game was done. I don't know what's going on with some of these rotations. I think you have to. I'll get into my ugly, which leads into that, but like at some point, the coach has to kind of be aware, like, yo, man, like, and for the most part, one of the things Darko's been pretty good at for the year, I'll give him credit for this. He's been pretty good at calling timeouts, when to call timeouts. But this is one of the few times where you let a lead up, blew up the 14 before you actually say, you know what, might want to blow a whistle. Like in that building, that's not a thing you want to be doing. And I'm just sitting there going, I see the lead here. This is put it this way: Pascal and crew, Pascal, OG and crew had it at about 6, I think, or so before this group came in, or 6 or 4, and then it started going up to about 8. Then it went up to 10. Then it went to 11. Then it went to 14. And I'm like, dude, are we gonna do something about this? And he almost let go of the rope where it's about to be like, we're about to have extensive garbage time, to quote Marv Albert, pretty soon. And he finally blew, call a timeout. But like that game was really rough for Darko, man. A lot of ways were really rough. And I think that was kind of the first part of it. The second part in this case here was like some of the plays were running. Like, this is another thing too. We have shooters on the team and we don't run any plays for the shooters. Like, I don't understand what is going on here. I watched Milwaukee and Indiana play a couple of nights ago. A Thursday night, I think it was. Giannis went off for 54. But I was focused to see how Indiana actually used their shooters. There's no time Buddy Hield comes in that game that not by the third possession, they've run something for Buddy Hield. All right? And I'm sitting there going like, how is it we have guys here and you're expecting guys, supposedly Gray's supposed to be a movement shooter. I think he is a movement shooter. We never have him on the move. We're just like, he's just sitting in the corner. And I'm sitting there going, like, what are we doing? You know, and then going back to that unit that Kenyon mentions to finish up this year. I keep saying this. I said it this year. I said it last year. I said it the year before. I don't know how many times you people have to learn, and it's now 2 coaches. You cannot play the winter. How many times I got to tell you people that? And for those of you who are new to the show, the Wonder Tins in this case are referring to is Boucher and Achua. I don't know how many times we got to go down this road to learn the same cruel lesson every single time. They were out there playing yo-yo in this case with the 2 of them. You know, it is quite clear in this case, the Boston staff said, listen, man, when these dudes are out here, we're going to attack them at the 3-point line. We're going to make sure because they want to jump at everything. And we're going to either attack them to the hoop, or in this case, we're going to draw them out, in this case, for fouls, or in this case, we're going to pick screen and rolls for them so they can't get messed up with their assignments, but we're going to attack them in some form or fashion. And yet somehow, this man kept dragging these 2 dudes out, which will lead to my ugly in a moment. But that's what I got to say about that.
Yeah. This was a rough game to watch. My bad was our big 3 of Siakam, OG, and Scotty. If my math is correct, they were 13 of 45 from the field. You're not going to win many games when those guys are shooting a combined 13 of 45 from the field. The whole team shot about 38% from the field. Once again, you're not going to win many games shooting that. We also shot 27% from the 3-point line. For a team that has been really Jekyll and Hyde on offense, it's like one game we shoot 40% from 3, and the next game we shoot like 25 or 20. You could tell they're still trying to figure out the offense and the rotations, or they're being stubborn to a point of no, let's keep doing this, which sometimes isn't working. Einstein's theory of insanity? If you do the same thing over and over, expect different results. Sounds like they're gonna keep trying this a little bit, but I'll give them credit. This is the time of year to do this, not in January or February. What else was bad in this game? What beyond was kind of alluded to as well. The bench. We had Malachi Flynn was a minus 21. We had Precious Achua was a minus 12. Boucher was a minus 9. Scotty and OG also minus 28 for Scotty and minus 26 for OG. These guys, I think you can make an argument. OG is our best defender. And if you want to say right now that Scotty is number 2 based on his numbers, fine. I can see that point. We can't have those 2 be minus 26 and minus 28. And what also was bad is my last point about the bad. Boston's a matchup problem for us. Porzingis, with his ability to stretch the offense, puts a guy like Pirtle in a real heap of trouble. Any of us, really, because Pirtle might be only a couple inches shorter than him, but he doesn't quite have the foot speed to be able to close him out. And even if you put someone like Precious on Porzingis, well, Porzingis is like 5 inches or 6 inches taller than him. He could just shoot over him. So a stretch big like Porzingis is a problem for us. Doesn't matter he's on Boston or he's on any team with our current roster personnel.
Yeah, so before I get to the ugly, I just want to say again, yeah, on the Darko point, there was decisions and execution that were not good. I saw Precious Achua continue to point. And this is mirrored, so it really should be going that way. He points to the corner. It's a pass to Scotty. Fine. But then he's going to the corner with him, even though Dennis is supposed to be cutting to the corner. And all of a sudden, Dennis is like, kind of like, okay, where are you
that
going?
play threw me off. I said, wait, is that Shooter? Where'd that come from? Because he was kind of behind him. So
yeah, he was behind him, and then he's just like this, throws his hands up, and then like basically laughs, and it's just like, okay, whatever. And it's like, you talk about spacing people, and that like Siakam's the problem. That's the problem.
Look, that was at least that shot. He actually caught rim. The first one is in the corner. He had an air ball.
I mean, I'm not saying that the whole thing is on Precious, because it's not. But it's just like, at some point, you have a situation whereby you have a coach that wants to do all these complex European style things, which is fine, but we do not have that personnel, especially on the bench.
I just challenge you on something for a second.
Go for it.
At some point, it got to be on Precious. At some
Oh,
point.
in large part it is, but I'm saying the whole game isn't on him. That's
No,
all.
but at some point, we got to get past the point if it's the game. Because when it's all said
Oh,
and
I'm
done,
past that. I'm like, no, Precious is
you've already
this is
had
on
three
Precious.
coaches in his career so far. And none of
Yeah.
them seem to be very impressed with him at this point. We'll see. The third one's right now, question mark. Definitely the other two had no time for him. Because one of them had no problem put him in a trade. Okay. And
Yes.
the other one was like, ugh. If I could find anybody else, I would find somebody else, but I got no choice but to play him. This third one right now is on shaky ground within the moment. I give it another 3 weeks or so before he starts realizing the same thing the first two realized. Like at this point, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna say this. I said it before, I said it yesterday, so this ain't nothing new for anyone. If someone used to play basketball a fair amount, I would say in this case, if I play with a guy at Precious Chua, he would make me sick to my stomach to play with him, quite honestly. The attitude from this dude on the floor, it's just almost, it makes me want to upchuck half the time while I watch him play because, like, dude, like there's guys out there, I'll say whatever you want. My thoughts on Boucher are quite clear in this case here. But one thing I'll never say about Boucher, you can say what you want about Boucher, but Boucher works his tail off. And Boucher is always scratching and fighting, even if he's limited. Because my issue with Boucher is his limitations. But I'm never going to say anything about Boucher's effort. This dude, I don't even know half the time if he's actually knows he's actually playing a game half the time. And at some point, you got to sit here and goes like, who are you? Really? Who the hell is you? At some point. Like this guy's walking
Sorry,
around
I don't mean
like if his stuff don't stink. I'm sitting there going like, really? Like,
it's
what have
it's
you done in this in your career that you should be walking around like this and
it's
having
bad.
a sour face all over your face? Even Malachi Flynn, who I'm no fan of, I begged for the fella to get traded so he can have a chance to play in this league. Great, he's having a chance to play. But even Malachi's worst moments, where he played like 10 games straight, I've never seen Malachi Flynn have the attitude I see what this dude has. Never.
No,
Never.
Malachi's always had a really good attitude
No.
and approached the game in the right way.
Every trick gets whipped out, flip flop, left, right, and center like bed sheets, and he's somehow still from the starting lineup. Never in this case, even though right now he's sour. Fair enough, but in this case here, he still plays hard. I never said Gary's not trying. This guy, the guy doesn't know what the play is.
Yeah, I mean, there's like I understand the whole excuse if he wasn't there during the parts of the training camp, but at the same time, he was there for parts of the training camp because he did play. At this point, you should know or at least be aware that like your teammate is literally like 2 feet from you, and then like literally behind you. Like, what's that? Who's breathing on my neck?
How many times have we seen this? A play is supposed to run, and he decides, no, man, let me get into my bag.
Yeah, it happened a couple times yesterday actually,
Of
where
course it did.
he was just like, all right, let me.
Like a foot. Right.
And it's like, okay, or there's no one around him, and it's just like, okay, just shoot a normal jump shot, and he's just like trying to do like a one-handed like floater half like hook shot, and I was like, what?
Oh, God.
Why are we overcomplicating it, man? Like, just
It's
keep
so
it simple. I this is what goes back to some of the conversations that I've had about Precious in the past, where it's just like, look, I get it, he has the tools, but you gotta keep it simple sometimes, and simplify the game for both for his sake, because all these flashes are great, but you got to figure out what you're good at first, and you got to really excel at that within a 4-year period, because the NBA only has a certain amount of spots, and if you can't
Well,
figure that out, a lot of people are not going to continue to take the chance on you.
I would just say the flashes are becoming less and less. That's all I got to say about that. That's my last point on it. It's becoming less and less.
Yeah, so I mean, it's tough. That's what I will say. But again, like it was, and I'm only saying this, not just so people don't think we're trying to beat up on Precious. Trust me, the whole team was bad. So trust me, he's not alone.
Trust me, we're going to be ugly yet.
Like we can go off on the whole team if we want to. So with that being said, let's go to the ugly. Uh, my ugly was actually Coach Darko, because that was ugly. That was nasty. I don't know. Like, you see some of those dudes out there with, again, you can't put Scotty Barnes out there without OG or Pascal. It just does not work, and this is why, or Dennis even, someone help, please help, right? Because at this point, it's like the reason why we're playing Flynn at backup point guard, even though some people complain about it, is because Scotty Barnes cannot handle the backup guard's duties, if that's what you consider him, on his own. He cannot. The reason why he has the shot selection that he has is because right now his handle, while he is extremely talented, right, and has that upside, his skill set right now is not good enough to get him to his best spots. That's part of the reason why he shoots so many jump shots. That's why.
Okay.
And
Hey,
that doesn't mean that the ceiling is not still the roof, right? But it means that as
runs to that phrase.
in terms of like raising the floor, it's a lot harder to do that because that goes back to the advantage creation. But within that, it also goes into why he doesn't go up against Derek White, because he doesn't trust his handle to go up against Derek White. And then all of a sudden, that advantage is erased. And I'm not blaming it on Scotty Barnes, but in part, yes, like it is also. I mean, a lot of this goes down to Masai and roster construction, but yes, to be better,
True.
right?
I would just, I mean, as much as I've been critical of Masai, I would say you had a whole offseason to work on your handle. That's all I say about that.
He wasn't working on the handle because he was working on the shot, though.
Kids at home, work on your handle. Yes, Eddie.
So this is why I keep saying his handle needs work. It's not to put him down or anything like that. I just call it how it is. I say this is where the guy is, and if he wants to be this is what need. If you want to be a point guard, you need to be able to handle the ball. And I get it. He did decently well against Caruso. Okay, great. That's one game. Okay, I'm just saying that. The ugly also was OG was a bit exposed too, because against bigger wing defenders who have really good dig downs and stuff like that, well, driving lanes aren't as open as they were in Boston, or not Boston, in against the Mavs. Now, I will say most teams will not have defensive personnel that Boston does. So with that, from that standpoint, you won't get exposed as much, but it's tough. The other thing is we had something that was working, establish either Pascal or Barnes, I don't care, in the post, and good things happen. But for whatever reason, we go away from that. And we definitely go away from it. I'm going to give JD a shout out on this one, but there are times that you have essentially Scotty Barnes deferring to Precious Achua, Malachi Flynn, and Chris Boucher. Think about that. If he's supposed to be the lead dog, why is he deferring to them and letting Precious do whatever the hell he wants to do on the court?
Okay.
Or stuff like that. That's a problem.
Let's dig down this point because you did. Because in this case, Kenya, in this case, the poor chap in this case here, man, I keep telling him to stop doing this, for his own health. But he decided to go back to watch the Pistons game last year against the Raptors when Siakam was not playing. And the scenario you described, we saw that play out in that game. I believe it's 2 or 3 possessions where Precious said, "Yo, I got this. Let me isolate for 35 feet out." When I think even OG was on the court on some of those units.
So was DeLon.
Yeah, right. So Banton and Achua were out there now. Banton had a great game, if I recall. So he was cooking, but Achua thinks he's cooking all the time when he ain't cooking. So this is not something that just happened all of a sudden. This has been something that's been going on for multiple years now. So this is an interesting phenomenon that we must continue to keep watch of as the season progresses.
Yeah. So vibes or not, I think I would challenge the coaching staff to encourage Barnes to be on the lookout for that. If you want him to be the best leader, then he has to be the one to step up in those moments and say, "No, settle it down, guys. No, Achua, you're not going to do that. No, Malachi, you're not going to do that. Let's get a good shot."
I thought the coach was one of his big things was role definition. Wasn't that what he's supposed to come in and do?
Yeah, but beyond it's only been like 9 games.
Oh, okay, we'll see how
It's
that
gonna
goes.
take like maybe 60 more.
Okay, we'll see. Okay,
Are they buying in though? That's the question too.
Well, coach, we're on the
You can
ugly. Are they?
you can yeah no, but I mean I think Greg Popovich said this at his Hall of Fame speech. The NBA is less about X's and O's, it's about relationships. But if you have a player who's not going to buy into what they believe, yeah, or what the coach is selling, there's a problem there. And I'm not so much suggesting that it's a specific player in the Raptors, just in general. Surely you can make a case for a couple guys on the Raptors for sure, but if you have role definition, you have one or two players that are not going to buy into that. Structurally, there's a problem. There will be.
And let me be clear again, because sometimes I have to do this. I think that Scotty Barnes is going to be part of your future and is important to your future. That's why I want the best from him. Like, I can't say it any other way. Coach, do you want to add anything else to ugliness?
The ugly. I haven't really spoken about the ugly. I was just making a point there. But the ugly, like Beyond said, Precious and Boucher together yesterday, that was bad. Precious ending up in the same corner as Dennis Schroeder, that was bad. If I was Darko in that moment, I'd have been pissed for sure. Like, what's going on here? Now, I'm probably being a slight bit nice. It was one game, his first game back. They have to figure that out, though. That cannot happen anymore. You can't have two guys in the same corner, 8 inches apart from each other, and try to make offense out of nothing at all. Huge miscommunication there. And the other part of just the ugly as well was these rotations in general. They did not match up well with Boston. Um, OG was minus 26 in this game. I told you guys, I think, before the game, I said Jason Tatum always just, man, he turns into LeBron, KD, whenever he sees OG, it's like. And he's the one guy, man, that really seems to have his number on offense. I mean, Tatum, I don't have the number. Tatum had 27 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 10 of 18 from the field. Tatum, Porzingis, and Brown all shot over 50% in this game. All of them. And when you have their big three, I didn't even mention Drew Holiday, who actually shot under 50%, but he's at like 4 of 9. So, take that for what you will. He's a good player. Another ugly in this game that hasn't really been talked about is the back cuts that Scotty was missing in the game. I watched Jaylen Brown go backdoor 3 or 4 times. Now, I'm not going to specifically blame Scotty for the second part of that, just the first part. The second part of that is there was very rarely the help either came or it was really late from Pirtle. So they have to get that fixed. The back cuts, are they going to happen sometimes in the game? Yes, they are. 3 or 4 times a game, that can't happen. And with barely little to minimal help, that also can't happen. So I'm just watching. I'm like, that's a really bad defensive possession. To me, this was their worst defensive game by far. Now, Boston's a really good team. This is the end of a road trip. Most teams at the end of a road trip, usually they don't have the most energy. But one thing was clear for me is that it gives you a bit of clarity on where this team is at and where this team is not at. That's the way that I kind of viewed this game.
But coach, did you not see to the Pirtle point, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I saw the Boston Celtics target Pirtle either directly or indirectly because they would go at Pascal or Scotty at times for the purpose of getting that switch to get to Pirtle
Yeah, and that's why when
in a row.
Porzingis was rolling, he's like, I can't leave Porzingis. I mean, Porzingis, what did he have in the game? Porzingis had 3 threes. He was 3-7 from the 3-point line. That's why they are a matchup problem for us. When you have Porzingis with his mobility and his length to be able to stretch the defense, that takes Pirtle away from the rim. So you'd be able to get your back cuts on Scotty and or Pascal, or just take OG, a guy like Tatum, who's 6'9", 6'10". So Our best three was not very good, and their best three was really good.
Uh,
Before I go to Beyond, do you have anything to say about Siakam? Because I think people think where Siakam stands. So
He was 6 of 17 from the field. I thought he started out fairly well in the game, but you know there was it just didn't go well with the whole team around. And I like this. I tell people this, about this two-headed monster you might have with Siakam and Scotty. That is your best chance, assuming no deal is made, for your success with those two. You have to get them going. That's why I kept saying, get Siakam going. And what happened in the Dallas game? He got going, which led to a win. Scotty didn't play that well, but in this game, pair of them didn't play well. And OG didn't play well. OG hit 8 points. You're not going to win many games that way, whether it's Boston or whether it's Portland. So your two best players, your three best players, if you want to call it, they have to be good.
Beyond.
you guys, the conversation kind of sets up my ugly. And I think honestly, this ugly guys is like this actually like derailed the season. This ugly if they don't sort this out real fast. And I think what Boston exposed is something that personally, as a Raptors fan, I think you should be very concerned about because this could end up being a very long season. What Boston did to us, we had a defensive deficiency at the 5 spot, and it is a disaster waiting to happen. And I'm not just talking about Pirtle. He's the obvious suspect, and he's number 1 on your public enemy chart. No two ways about that. But my goodness, Boston with lethal precision went after not just Pirtle, as Kenyon said. They said once they were done with his bones and they had him on the bench, they said, "Oh, Scotty, you out here? You out here in deep water at the 3-point line? You come out here and play with us too." And they ran pick and roll. There was a couple times, you mentioned the Jaylen Brown part. There's a couple positions when Jaylen Brown had Scotty out in the 3-point line. There was nothing. He just said, "No, back off. I got this. I want this dude one-on-one." And he blew right past him. I mean, this is something so this is one of the things where sometimes the stats can lie to you sometimes, folks, right? And I think Darko, I give him full credit because I would do the same thing with Scotty. I would play him on the back line. Yep. But what Boston said was, we ain't gonna let you get away with that. The moment Pirtle went out and you want to play him at 5, oh no, we're gonna bring him up to the party. Come on in, the water is just fine, and we're gonna start going after him. They went after every 5-man we had. Precious, you want some? No doubt. You come over here too. We'll look to get after you. So my concern is they're not the only one that has a lot of really good wings that could get to the hoop. What do you think the Clippers are going to do with you? What do you think the master of the mismatch, LeBron James, is going to do to you?
Well, I mean, it depends for the Clippers, which is a better party city for James.
Well,
Harden.
I don't think we need him for that game, to be honest with you, because George and Kawhi alone in this case here will have the matchup. Never mind pick and rolls with Westbrook. So there's disaster looming in all those scenarios, and without even getting Harden, who's a fantastic pick and roll player. I'm just going through the list of teams right now where you look there's like, oh, I didn't think if Dallas knew that. In a way, Dallas paid almost a little too much respect to Scotty from a defensive standpoint. And it only showed itself late in the game in Dallas where you got a couple of times with Luka, and Luka blew past him because he's standing up straight and he blew past him. But if Dallas knew, or at least Dallas thought in this case, the way Boston thought, is like we're going to call your bluff, you might be looking at a different week in this case here, because that option right now is teams with a lot of big wings or big guards. Just folks, don't say your boy Beyond's hating. Just telling you, buckle up for the ride. Just telling you. You can put it in the comments. But when we're 2-3 weeks down the road, and you see, because hey, the NBA is a copycat league, and everyone's gonna say, like, oh, okay, this looks interesting. Watch and see. And you're gonna see a lot of teams that have similar personnel to Boston that got a lot of wings and a lot of big guards that can do that. You think Chicago's gonna let Scotty get away this next time around? Oh no, my friend.
Yeah, like I have the game on, no, just a couple possessions playing on in the background right now, and it's like I'm seeing Jason Tatum with our defense. I more or less set. We're doing a full court press. They just set one pick for OG and go straight at Pirtle.
Pearl is a disaster
And
right
it's
now.
just like, boom. That's a full court press. We were set up.
Exactly.
And it
He
ended up being a full court transition bucket where he laid it up.
the most embarrassing Pirtle moment last night was when they had pick and roll with Porzingis and Holiday. Now you would think the logical thing when you're playing basketball that the 6'4" guard would not challenge the 7'1" center. It would be the opposite way around. Porzingis would get the ball in that switch. Holiday said, "No, man, hold my beer. Let me go after this big fella too and get some of this." Went in there and put a hook shot over in the paint. I'm sitting there going like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, yeah. It doesn't get more embarrassing than that.
Like I'm watching the one where Porzingis, you guys see these people. I might actually put this on the screen. So like Porzingis is actually running pick and roll with I believe it's Tatum, and they have, it looks like OG and then Pirtle out there trying to do the drop coverage, and the second he just gets downhill on Pirtle, it's like boom, again and again and again and again. You want some more? Here's some more pie. Here's some more pie.
Right. So like you just got like, so if you have any sort of twosome of a front court guy as an offensive player and any sort of wing with Pirtle involved, it's going to be really troublesome for us to deal with. You'll get away with a Milwaukee because their personnel doesn't fit that way. Unless they play Giannis at 5, then it could get a bit interesting if they go down that road. And that Adrian Griffin has that card to play. And I suspect you might see more of that this coming week with him playing at 5. Because with Lopez, you get what you want. Yeah, you got the pick and pop, but Lopez is going to beat him off the dribble. You can be more aggressive in the 3-point shot with Lopez. Lopez is going to beat him off the dribble. It's one of the few centers that might be able not to be able to beat him off the dribble. But when you start rolling down the street and you start seeing, we saw it with Maxey and Embiid. You keep going down the lane and keep going to see the lineups coming down, in the next week or so. And you can start seeing like, problem. So to me, this is the biggest scenario that came out of this loss. The exposure of our defense when it comes to the 5 spot. Pick any of the guys that play center for us. It ain't pretty. All I say is, put right now the bat signal out for Koloko. Please, oh please. Please let the signal come up, man. A big CK out in the sky. Please tell me something, folks. Because that is the only possibility to help solve this situation. He's got enough the foot speed, he's got the awareness, and he has the respect from the referees in this case when it comes to shot blocking. Where guys and the players around the league where it's like, I gotta be careful how I put this up around this dude. Please, that's it. That's the ugly, and I think it's gonna get uglier.
Anyone else want to double down or?
Yeah, no, I mean, like some of the things.
I'm just kidding.
That were Siakam fans, just him. Look, I don't really. People can think what they want, stuff like that. That's their opinion. But for this team to succeed, you probably want to have your 2 best players play well.
Shot, man. Really, coach?
I just don't understand how people can look at the Boston game, see what was working, and then say, you know what? Siakam needs the ball less for Scotty to work.
Right. Siakam was a -9 or 8, okay? And the 2 guys
-9.
I was told
-30.
like I was told that Fred was in the way, and I'm not a Fred fan, just so people know. That Fred was in the way of Scotty. Mm-hmm. And now it's like someone else, and then another person, and then another person, and then another. It's like at some point, and I'm not putting this all on Scotty, I'm just saying the overall team needs better players. It's like, I'm sorry.
No, but that's
sorry, Raptors fans.
Right. And one of the things we said early on was probably why we're getting whatever feedback we're getting. And I said it then, and I'll stick with it. The shot diet for Scotty Barnes, as well as he's playing, this is not something that you think that you will continue moving forward. It's not sustainable. And I keep watching the field goal percentage from 3 keeps dropping. A couple of weeks ago or about 10 days ago, it was 43%. Now all these folks are going crazy.
It was at 50 before then, too.
All right. Now we're down. It was like before the game in Boston, it was like something down at 38%. I suspect today it's around 36%.
35.
35. Oh, see, I was giving more credit. I gave a percentage you didn't even have. 35%. Right? So, guys, man, I'm just trying to say, man, it all reverts back to the mean at some point. And you can't live off of that, man. It's like living off of sugar. You can't do it, man. You need some vegetables in there. You need some meat.
The interesting thing, and this is why, again, for those of you who are still listening and haven't tuned us out, the answer is not, Scotty Barnes is bad, Siakam is good. The answer is use Scotty Barnes in his optimal position. Put him as a hub in the offense. Don't run your offense through Pirtle. Don't run your
That's
offense through Precious. Run it through Scotty Barnes, right? He doesn't, to quote David Thorpe, he doesn't have to be the quote unquote quarterback, but he should be heavily involved in the play. Heavily involve your other good player, Pascal Siakam. Involve them in each play. When you do, things go well. I'm advocating for both of them. And I do not see that.
It's all that we've wanted. I would hope anyway.
I'm a Raptors stan. I want the Raptors to do well.
This is the funny part. I made this point to you offline, Kenya. I'm not sure if Coach was in the discussion, but I said the irony about the Scotty Hub question was, remember they were talking all that Hub stuff before the season started and even the preseason? And then we saw in this case, as preseason went on and now in the regular season, that pretty much was just a fallacy at that point. It's interesting that the irony of, I tell you, this team, Curly said it a few weeks ago on your show. I've said it to you guys plenty of times and said it on Spaces. This team tries to make life hard for themselves all the time. Now, I am the first person to say and fully admit it in this case here. When they mentioned Scotty to be a hub, I'm like, Scotty who? Right? Because I know Scotty's game was not set up to be any hub of any offense or where they wanted him. But here's the irony. He actually has some jump shotting ability, especially from the mid-range. He can actually do it now. And they don't do it.
The challenge is that, again, his handle isn't good enough for him to routinely get into the mid-range against better perimeter defenses, right? And so I know where you're going, right. And the answer is they should run plays to get both him and Pascal into the mid-range. But we're allergic to the mid-range.
Well, that's my point. Because even if he plays in the same spot where Pearl's playing right now, the risk of the dribble now is a lot less because it's one bounce and he's got that nice little jump hook thing he's got flipped up there that he can work with. He has the shot. He has the turnaround from that same spot.
Yeah, he's shot, what is it, 55% or 50-something% on contested hook shots?
But I forgot we're the Raptors. We don't want to play in player strengths. Why would we do that?
No, well, because, there's a plan.
Right, it's a plan, right. Because the same argument I was making for Pascal a week ago in this case here is the same argument I'm now making for Scotty. It was like, play to the people's strengths, people. Like, why are we putting dudes out the 3-point line for above the break? Like, what are we doing out here?
It's funny because people say like they want to operate in the same space. Okay, sure. I think that they approach the game differently, Scotty and Pascal. But the answer was not to go away from both of their that space. Like we're not putting either.
Here's the thing too. This is not so much Scotty and Pascal when I'm saying this. We're 28th in offense. 28th. We are basically dead last in offense. Some might say, gee, we're kind of lucky to be 4 and 5 right now. Yeah. In some regards, we are very lucky to be 4 and 5 right now. Do you really expect to go anywhere with the 28th best offense? Not going to happen. That has to improve. Right there. I don't expect them to be a top 10 offense. I'm being realistic right now. Nor did I ever expect them to be a top 10 offense. Get me 18th. Right. Give me 16th. Oh, man. I'd be glowing. Right. 28th. It's once again, it puts a lot on your defense to be elite. And it's been elite up until yesterday. I would think. I think it's been really good. I still think they're top 7, top 8 in defense right now. And they have to be top 10, very least. I think ideally you get them top 5, that will help them. 28th in offense. And what are we in free throw percentage? 25th in free throw percentage? 29th in free throw percentage. We are 71.2%. That has to improve, especially with this team that with a lot of long, lanky wing players who some can shoot, some can't, have to rely on getting to the basket. Can't shoot 71% from the free throw line. Got to aim for 80%. Trust me, if you get into the top 18 in offense and you get up into the top 12, let's just say in free throw percentage, you're going to start stringing some wins together, assuming that your defense remains the way that it is for the most. But until that time, you're going to hover around 500 or below. It's my prediction.
I mean, I shouldn't do this, but like I'm looking at some of the stuff. It's exactly what we're saying. Grady only getting corner shots because they can't get him running. Run him around on a curl to get to the corner, right? And give him as well as auto shots more often. You know, so that they're not cold. You can't have your shooters go cold. Not everyone can be a microwave like Gary. Sometimes the microwave don't work out. It short circuits sometimes. Okay, like so. I'm seeing blown coverages. I'm seeing it's bad, and I'm just gonna be honest about that. I mean, you can pick your choice. Everyone got the business, man. So if people aren't satisfied with us, well, you were too nice to this player. Hey, that player can have it too. Trust me, they got it yesterday.
Get
Like
beat that
my goodness.
around, but like, yeah, my point is just how Boston identifies certain matchups, and that to me scares me moving forward.
Yeah, I mean Boston's a very good. Even though I think that they don't have the best coach, and I think that their fans agree. Um, it can't be the second row Joe versus the second row Darko show. Um,
Oh, enough of
not
that.
you're not gonna you're at least one guy has one extra year of experience there, so and a better team. So I think that there's ways that we can see modest improvement and field a competent team on a regular basis on a regular night, but you got to be able to do it. You got to be able to figure that out. So with that being said, let's shift towards we'll each say one thing positive about the Raptors on the way out, and then we will talk about one rookie that we have noticed, each saying a different rookie that we've noticed, just to switch it up and also end on a moderately positive note. Don't worry, Raptors fans, it'll be okay. This too will pass. um Anyone want to say anything positive on the way out? Could you want to do an extra good?
Not really. I mean, like the week has been fine. Like overall, let's hear the good. Coach mentioned it just now.
Hey, we
Considering
split the week.
that's what I'm saying. Considering the schedule we've had and everything around it, to be 4-5, honestly, is a small miracle. So in that sense, that is good. If you can stay around 500 for the time being, so you can get some more support in other ways, great.
Actually,
Yep.
Oh yeah, sorry, Coach. Hey.
No, like my goal at the start of the season, looking at the schedule, was for them to be 3-3. And before Boston's game, they were 4-4. You played Philly twice. You played Boston once.
Mhm.
You beat Milwaukee. You beat Dallas. Great wins. You should have beat Chicago, but whatever. Moving forward, I just hope they can get their rotations more um, stabilized. I hope they can find out which guys can play on the court with each other and which guys cannot, and that the offense is going to improve because there's some makings here of a decent offense. I do think, but you can't be 28th in offense for the next month or two, or it's going to get bad.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm with Darko. Darko shoot more threes. That's the answer. I'll.
See, you should just move on to the next subject. You see, you wanted something positive, you did that. So this is on you, man.
Yes. But in all seriousness, though, I think that the way that we're playing, we will probably end up playing around this level, which will be up and down until something significant changes one way or another. And so, yeah, I see, around 500, which is where we're at. And then, it just takes a little bit of something to go for a run. So it'll be okay, people. Just a small run. And that gets you a little bit above 500. And then with how the standings are stacked up, I mean, two more wins, that puts you in the, tied for the third seed right now.
Sorry, can I say one more thing just before you
Hmm.
move on? To be on a positive note, Scotty Barnes, for the most part, has played very well this season. Up
Yes,
until like the Boston game was not good. I admit that. The Dallas game, he kind of struggled, but he did other things which were really, really good. I've been very, very pleased with the way he's been playing both ends of the court. It
absolutely.
does look like Pascal Siakam is coming around a bit more as well. It's like he's starting to find his game. I was never really concerned about it. I was just more concerned on you better get him the ball more, put him in the spot where he does well. So if those two can get going, I think the other pieces will somewhat fall in place for the most part, and then we'll see over the next month or so what this team looks like.
Absolutely agree, and that's just it. I think we need to get to game 20, really see where we're at, and I think that that's what the coaching staff is doing. With that being said, we're going to look at the week ahead before we do anything else. So we have the Wizards. It's a busier week. So Wizards, Bucks, Celtics, and the Pistons. The Celtics is going to be the first in-season game. I believe that they are playing at Toronto, so that will be a good game. Hopefully, I mean, I you always see the court and stuff like that on the photos, and I'm curious to see what it actually looks like, the in-season tournament court. But yeah, so with that being said, that's 4 games. The last game being on Sunday. Remember, people, we cut off on Sunday. Um, Pistons. We talked before this that Pistons happens at an early time, so that's 4 p.m. on Sunday. Just so people know. What do you expect the record to be this week?
2-2.
Same here. I hope for 2-2. I hope for 4-0, but I'm just being realistic. Say 2-2.
I'll go 2-2. I think that they'll get the Pistons. I do think that they'll actually get Washington. If for some reason they don't, uh, then you're in a little bit of trouble, of course.
See,
um, yeah,
From the Raptors are unconventional, so it'll be 2-2, and they'll beat like Milwaukee,
yeah, they'll probably beat
and
Milwaukee,
then
lose
lose
to
to
the
Philadelphia
Celtics on
in
yeah,
Detroit. Yeah, that's exactly how it will play out. Probably,
I,
knowing how the Raptors are.
I will say this though. I don't think 3-1's out of the possibility. I
no,
got
it's
some
not.
concerns about Milwaukee. I thought their offense was going. I know their offense is their offense, but they got some defensive challenges there. And when the Raptors play them, I know they shot the lights out, but if you watch that game, and anyone who remembers, they were constantly going at Dame the whole game, more or less. And I don't know if Chris Middleton, he's in the lineup and stuff like that. So it's not going to shock me if they do go 3-1, but I also do expect the Bucks to play it with a bit more motivation as compared to they did the first time.
Yeah, their best chance to go 3-1 will be involving Milwaukee, and I think that they can do it. They have the personnel to do it. But we will see how the execution is, and we'll also see how Milwaukee adjusts to the game plan. Again, seems like their fans aren't super happy with their coaching staff so far. So yeah, but we'll see. I think a safe bet would probably be 2-2, mainly because you never know what happens. With that being said, we now slide over to the overall NBA. Is there a rookie that you've seen in the past couple weeks um, that you want to talk about? It can be from any team other than the Raptors.
So, you go ahead, Coach. You got someone in mind?
The guy from your team, Beyond, and he's a twin, Mr. Thompson. I like him. He does some things really well on the basketball court. Now, is he the best shooter in the world? No, he's not. But if I'm looking at his stats correctly, about 11, 12 points per game, 10 rebounds from a guy who's about 6'5", really good, 3.5 assists, steal and a half, and almost 2 blocks. This guy does everything really well. It's almost like the Pistons have their own version of an OG. Something like someone who could defend, do a little bit of everything, except this guy might be a better rebounder and a better passer in the long run for sure. But I really like this pick to pair him with Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren. I think he's done a really good job. I did not see. I saw the talent in the summer league. I'm like, man, he's got this alpha male mentality a little bit. Like he's a slasher. He's a guy who can pick up on defense. So I saw hints of that. You don't really know how it might translate to actual playing pros in that sense, but he's done he's done really well, and it's been transferable the first 8, 9 games of the year. Great pick by Detroit at this point. Really, really good player. I think he's a good complementary piece if you have a couple of guys who can score the basketball. Cade definitely is one. And then Duran, before he got hurt, he was putting up double doubles each night too as well. So I think they get something to build with there.
Hey man, you mentioned that ferocity, and I said before, I kind of already gave my mea culpa of the Thompson twins already on this show already, this podcast. So you know me where I fit with them, man. I love watching the kid play. I am thoroughly enjoying it. It's giving me some hope as a Pistons fan, so I love it. I will also say I already said my piece about Wemby, so that's nothing. So I'll remove him from my thoughts. Well, let me go with this. My man, who I had as my first guard off the board. One Keontae George for the Utah Jazz. Let me tell you, boy, my man is not fearing anybody on that court, man. He's attacking anybody he sees and setting up players left, right, and center. Now, the numbers right now, he's saying 7 points, stuff like that. I think he's got 2-3 assists maybe at this point, but the numbers are going to start ramping up over time. And let me tell you something, he is a player, man. Utah, I think they got a great pick for the value late in the draft. I always liked them. I always thought he got a bit of a raw deal because of the injury. And I think now it's kind of come to fruition how good he is. And I think he, very similar to the Thompson twins, they just act like they belong. It's the X factor. You can't put your finger around it, where it's like they're not really fearing the moment, or kind of like, well, I don't want. No, they're just out here just balling. I love watching him play and doing his thing. So me as Keontae George, man, believe me, that takes a lot for me to be watching Utah games.
Honestly, those are two great picks. I would normally talk about Wemby or Chet. We've already talked about both of them, I believe, so far. So we'll come back to them at some point. But to spread the love around, I'm going to talk about my man, Cason Wallace.
I really left him for you, yeah.
I left him for you too, actually.
Yes. Defensively, he's been there. Really, really good. But offensively, there were concerns about OKC picking him because apparently he wasn't the best shooter. The effective field goal percentage, which incorporates, it's like an adjusted thing, anyways. 76%. From two, he's shooting 74. As a two guard, and this is one of the things that I brought up because I'm like, if you get to the rim, especially as a guard, if you can convert at the rim, it's a really nice thing. He's shooting above 75% at the rim as a guard.
Mm-hmm.
And 65% from the field. Sorry, go on.
You could just go on, and 52%, 52.6%, so 53 basically percent on 2 attempts a game. It's not the highest volume, but you don't necessarily need your guys to be the highest volume, and still rebounding well. He's doing all of that. And he's factoring in for 23 minutes a night. So I'm happy to see him shine. Like I said, I like Kentucky guards for the most part. He's a Kentucky guard, so I'm just adding him to the pile. And low turnover as well, doing really, really great. So I'm happy to see him get a shine and get a chance, and would have liked to see him on the Raptors. Perhaps one day we will see a Kentucky guard, whether it's him or Shea or technically Sharp.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with Kentucky guards. Just the history of the last decade, more or less, of Kentucky guards of Devin Booker, Tyrese Maxey, Shea, Jamal Murray. I'm sure I'm missing John Wall. I mean, it's hard to go wrong with an elite Kentucky guard.
Mm-hmm, no doubt. The pedigree's there, man. So I mean, I think that's the only thing I would just say to add one small point to that is OKC's gonna have a bit of an issue at some point about kind of distributing minutes between he and Dort. I'm gonna find that fascinating because there's gonna be a couple of point where we might have to start thinking like, you know what, if we want to win, if he's winning minutes, if he is, even the other night I was watching, I can't remember who they're playing the other night. They playing the other night in this case here, and like the minutes he was on, they seem to be doing pretty well. Then they brought back the starting unit again. I'm like, at some point, you're gonna have to kind of make some decisions when it comes to playing time.
Right. I mean, the guys that I think that they want to probably move is, I'm guessing, Giddy and Dort. Um,
You think they want to move Giddy?
I think eventually, yeah, because I think they would probably, from a point of attack defense standpoint, they probably want Kaysen rather than Giddy. Because I mean, no offense to Giddy, but he's never, I don't,
No.
I
But
don't.
Giddy is a distributor that makes it a lot easier for Wallace to be a finisher.
That is true. But then
Yeah,
also Williams, J Dub
mhm.
is their three, so they're gonna have some decisions to make.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I would be asking for Kaysen in any
Oh, I
deal
me
with
too.
OKC. I'm saying in general from if you're any team and you're looking for like a promising young guard, when you look at OKC, they have a lot of guards. They got Shea, they got Giddy, they got Trey Mann. They're going to have a gajillion draft picks coming up in the next 10 years. You know, Kaysen might be on my uh, high up my priority list if I was looking for a guard on that team. That's
Abs-
controllable too.
Absolutely. So, I mean, we're gonna have other guests on, of course, in the future. I believe next week we might have Louis Satzman on to join us, and then eventually, we're gonna have a rotation of old guests coming back as well. Of course, there's gonna be Trey. We're gonna probably see Reese at some point. It's not always going to be so. Some of these are gonna be, Sundays if there is time permitting. Again, I'm trying to just do once a week in general right now. But people, Basketball Rewind will always have the stuff that you need.
You're
So
getting another Nova Scotian on your show with Lewis. That's good.
absolutely, absolutely.
Goes to
So
see.
yeah. So we so of course, big up to whether it's the different Twitter spaces, the Raptors Live TV, Reese's show, whoever else. If I'm missing, comment down below for sure. So yeah. With that being said, it's been great. We got to get out of here. And that's been good. Stay safe. Take care and peace.